So, something a little new. We got the setup here. We're going to see how this goes. I'm trying, got the camera, and then I've got the phone camera. So if I'm going back and forth, it's just not sure how long the battery is going to last on the camera to do this with full charge. And I want to make sure that whatever gets done, if the camera battery goes off and I'm still talking and don't realize that I want to make sure that whatever I had going is recorded, hence the phone camera. So, well, where to begin? I've been having a rough few days, probably a week or better now. I saw my psychiatrist and my counselor on Monday, and talking to my psychiatrist, we're keeping meds as is for the next couple weeks just to see if this is a cycle thing with me. It seems like, we'll make an adjustment, and the first time I come back after that, which is usually 2 to 3 weeks, just to see how I'm reacting, because I've had a number of meds in the past where I have reacted very poorly. It's escalated my mood swings and whatnot. So we make very short intervals when we're doing med changes. And so the first follow-up, usually I'm doing a lot better. And then like the next one or two after that, it seems like, I start crashing down. And this past Monday was our second time of me going down since the last up. So we want to give it a couple more weeks just to see if, one, the new med will kick in, help that out, and to see if it's just a cycle thing and I'm able to come back up, or try to get an idea of what to do. We don't want to keep adding meds on, because like I said before, I was at like 7 daily meds and then the Ativan on top as needed for anxiety, which got used quite often. So we also don't want to remove meds in the event that, without knowing for sure that they're not helping or that they're causing an issue. Maybe the dose just needs to be tweaked and we need to go up a little. That's what we're trying to figure out. So that's where we're standing right now. I saw my counselor before my psychiatrist, and we were doing more of the EMDR therapy, and she was asking, have you talked with Dr. Hartwig and explored the borderline personality disorder diagnosis further? And I said, well, actually, no, I haven't, because I haven't seen him since you and I first talked, or since we last talked about it. And so I asked him Monday, and I'm like, where are we with that? Are we gonna explore it further? Have we explored it to the extent that it needs to be explored, or what have you? And I guess I just didn't realize that before, at my last appointment, when we went through this series of questions in different scenarios and how I would react to them and everything. I didn't realize that was the assessment. So he had already made the official diagnosis that yes, there is borderline personality disorder in there with the others. Quite possibly as a result, and probably as the result of PTSD trauma. So that's where we're sitting diagnosis-wise. So I've been having a rough go of it. It happens, and I haven't quite figured out why. Seems like everything makes me cry. Everything always makes me cry. Like the last year or so, I'm very intensely emotional. I get very frustrated. I get very just hopeless, and I put up walls and I shut down, and I'm ready to just be done with it all very quickly. So with that being said, um, I've been having this conflict with myself for, I honestly can't even tell you. It's been for a very long time. Um, as far back as I can remember, I've never really felt that um, I was particularly wanted by my mom, and most times I could tell you I didn't feel that I was even liked by her. I I've never met my father. From what I'm told, he wasn't even told about me right at first. And when he did find out about me, he opted to have nothing to do with me. Um, so I've always felt extremely unwanted in that respect anyway. Um, I believe I was 15 when I finally learned like my true parentage and the circumstances surrounding my um, conception and everything. And um, I had known very, very early on. Like, I remember being 4, sitting at the dinner table after dinner, and I know my mom was there, and I know my one aunt was there. Beyond that, I couldn't tell you who was there because I just don't know. Um, and I remember asking who my dad was. And I remember my mom telling me, "Don't worry about it, go to your room." And that has always stuck with me. Um, as far as I can recall, I don't think she's even ever mentioned his name to me, even after I found out. And when I actually found out the whole story, it wasn't from her. She's never really talked about that. She doesn't talk about things. She's not a affectionate individual. She's a very private person. I am not that. I'm extremely um, affectionate. I'm very emotional, and I need to talk about things. And so she knows I know his name. She knows I know the story. She's never talked to me about it, and I don't see that ever changing. Um, what I do know that she has told me more than once, which has, I think, been the biggest, like, nail in the coffin on the whole feeling like I wasn't wanted thing, was I couldn't tell you how old I was when she first told me. I don't know the context of the conversation as to how it came about. Um, I just know that she did say that I was not intended. She was on birth control. It failed. Um, and she had no intention of keeping me. She'd already had my brother at that time, and he was 2 when I was conceived, and he'd gone through some health issues, and so I'm guessing it was all just very stressful at the time. Um, she had chosen to give me up for adoption. There was a family picked out and all ready to take me, and from what she has said, the reason she chose to keep me was because every time she thought about what would she use the money for that she would gain from putting me up for adoption, it was always for baby things, and so she felt maybe she was supposed to keep me. Now, I think there might be some truth to that. I also think that a far larger reason as to why I was kept was my grandmother. Um, I just don't see my grandma ever having been okay with me being given up. Um, and so I do firmly believe that she had a much larger part in me being kept than the whole money for babies thing. Or money for baby things. um, So I've struggled with that. I have struggled with that so much, knowing that I wasn't intended. I wasn't originally particularly wanted to be kept. Um, I don't. I've struggled and struggled, and I can't remember my mom telling me she loved me. I'm sure she's had to have. What mom doesn't tell her kids that? Um, she always writes it in her cards and stuff. And she does things that a loving mom would do. Um, I guess I've just never really felt like I was enough. That's been my big thing. I don't feel like I'm enough for her. Like there was something lacking in me that allowed that connection that I've needed. And I've sought my entire life. So we'll have good times, and then we'll have times where I'm not able to be with her very long, and it ends in me being a blubbering mess after I've left, questioning so much about myself. And I've asked my husband during meltdowns a couple times, easily anyway, why didn't she just give me to the people that wanted me so I could feel like I was enough? Like I feel that I was robbed of that. Sometimes I struggle thinking that I was kept because it was one of those, that's mine and you can't have it because it's mine. And the more I know you want it, the more I'm going to hold on to it so you can't have it, so you know that's mine. Admittedly, most of my thoughts and feelings around this entire concept could be the mental illness. It could be, the voices in my head that are telling me this. It could be the imbalance of chemicals that are just wiring me to be this person. And so I struggle with feeling like most of the time I'm not enough, I'm not wanted, I'm not loved, I'm not this, and I'm not that, I'm not good enough. And then days like yesterday happen, and I'd had a good day, got up way early. I woke up at like 3:15, and then I couldn't get back to sleep because I knew my alarm was going off at 4:15, so I could go out and go pick my grandpa up, and we were going to go fishing. And that's one of my favorite things to do, to just go and spend time with grandpa out on the water and enjoy the serenity and tranquility and just that togetherness. And did that, came home, had to pick my son up from work orientation and then take him back out there. And while I was out there, he comes in with his hands behind his back and he says, "Sit down." And he had told my husband, "You want to be in here for this." And I'll instantly, when he's telling me to sit down after he had just told Noel that, I'm a little nervous. And so I sit down, and he hands me, as he's handing me this box, he keeps telling me, "This was Grandma. This was all Grandma's idea. She saw this on Facebook and thought you would like it, and it came in the mail a couple days ago." And he just kept reiterating, this was all Grandma. This was Grandma's idea. My mom. And he hands me this box. And it's got my name written on it. And I open it up. And then there's another box in it. And it's got their sticker from the wherever it's from, and it says thank you and everything. And I opened that box. And sitting on top is this chart. that is perfectly engraved from a picture of my pup Rusty in a necklace. And I did exactly what I'm doing now. And it's like, the context behind that is that Rusty is my best friend, and I will go to my grave saying he saved my life a few years back when I went through a really, really bad depressive episode. And I was ready to give up. And he knew it. I know he knew it. Because every day when I was awake, we'd sit in the big chair in the living room, and he'd sit on my lap the entire day, all day, every day. He was stuck to me. He didn't require anything of me. He just wanted me to know he was there and he loved me. And he's my other baby. And I really can't describe the love I have for him. I really just cannot. It is one of the very few forms of complete and totally unconditional love and acceptance I've ever felt. So this gift of Rusty, depicted in one of my favorite pictures of him, just because she knew I would love it and appreciate it, causes such conflict, because it's like I always have this feeling that I'm not loved, I'm not wanted, I'm not good enough with her. And then she does things like that, and it makes me feel like I've been wrong all this time. And I don't know what to do with that. I don't know how to process that. I know my husband keeps telling me, she wouldn't have kept you around if she didn't love you, if she didn't want you. Just some people don't know how to show it. Some people, they don't intend to cause damage and harm. They just do unknowingly. Some people don't know how to be the parent like that and everything. And I have said, and I will continue to say, that I've never once felt that in any of the bad feelings I have felt because of her or whatnot, I've never felt there was any malicious intent, any intentional harm in her. And I don't think she's ever meant to make me feel this way. I don't believe that at all. And I think if she really knew, how I feel about that, and what I think and feel in regards to her and I really think that I think she'd be hurt, and I think that's a good part of why I don't tell her and I don't share it with her, because I already have enough hurt by it. I don't need to spread the wealth. I don't know. That's what a lot of the trauma, well, that's a part of the trauma therapy we're going through, is to help me with all that. Other parts of it are some, I call it minor sexual abuse in the past. I don't know. Which has also caused struggles with me in regards to her, because things happened a couple, 2-3 times, and I know at least 2 of those times I swear I know I said something and nothing was ever said and done about it. And that has really caused me issues because I don't understand how a mom could let those sort of things happen and say and do nothing about it. So, I don't know. But, that's where I've been lately. I'm just, everything is just, I'm so confused. I'm I'm getting overwhelmed. I'm getting tired of everything. I want to, I don't want to give up. I don't want to not feel, I guess, anymore. I don't want to not be here. I want to be past it already. I'm very impatient and I want to be done with this and I want to feel good. And I feel like I'm just dragging on through this and I'm bringing everybody down with me and everything. And, which just kind of triggered a memory, something I wanted to mention. So while I was setting this up, I hadn't gotten the background stuff yet, but I'd gotten this chair, this big comfy chair to sit in, and got it, and it needed to be brought down, and the legs needed to be taken off to get it down the stairs and everything, and my son was here the one day because I had to take him to do his paperwork and stuff for his new job, I think it was. And he ended up here for a number of hours, and we had a really good day. It was really enjoyable. My only regret is that the cat in the house triggered his allergies so horribly that he was just covered almost head to toe in itchy bumps and a rash and everything. And so he was miserable, and I still feel horrible about that. But I opened up to him about some stuff and as to what the purpose of getting this corner set up and what the chair was for and everything. And so I'm kind of telling him about the vlog and everything. And that was the camera shutting off. And I had mentioned how Noel had said that he would be willing to come in sometimes and share his perspective and what it's like being on that side of the relationship and everything. And at first I think Caleb took a little offense to it because he says, well, there's a third perspective, And it wasn't like this just tone like I just had. It was almost like there was some aggression behind it. And I'm like, what? And he's like, there's a third perspective, He said something to the effect of, it was hell growing up watching me go through this and deal with this. And I'd be lying if I said I never. I'd be lying if I said I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is that thought never once occurred to me. It never dawned on me how my struggles and all this stuff I'm thinking of and dealing with, how it makes him feel on the other side. I never took that into consideration, ever. Which then, of course, made me feel like shit, because here I am, this mom, and I'm supposed to protect him and love him and put his thoughts and wants and needs and everything ahead of mine. And I've been so selfish with this mental illness stuff that never occurred to me how it would affect him, what he thought, what he felt. And I realized that, at least I imagine it's not like true selfishness. It's just the illness that just consumes you and centers itself in your thoughts and everything. But I got the impression that he'd be willing to sit in and do some talking too, which would be interesting. Like, I think it would be very eye-opening to get his perspective on things. I also think it will be very heartbreaking. I'm not prepared for that, but if it's something that would be beneficial for him to get off his chest and talk about, I am all for it. I've cried a number of times in my life, and I will cry a number of times yet again before my time is up. So I dare say I can make it through that. He also showed me a screenshot of, I think it was a Snapchat he had done, where he had screenshotted a post on Facebook I had put, I don't know, a couple, maybe 3 weeks ago, but it was probably only like a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, where I'd collected a number of pictures from a couple different like photo shoots that Noel and I had done, because I believe I mentioned in one of my other 2 videos that I'd wanted to get these pictures of Noel and I to document this amazing relationship we're in, that I'm so grateful and so proud of. And so I put some of the better ones on Facebook with how I'm so grateful that I have this, that I finally have something I'm proud of and something I want to share with people, and that these were some of the better pictures and everything. And he'd screenshotted that post with some of them pictures and put something to the effect on his Snapchat with that of, it's been so fucking long that I've waited for her to find this happiness. I can't tell you how good it makes me feel, or something like that. I can't remember the exact phrasing, but knowing Caleb fucking was in there. And so he shows me this, and he's telling me, this friend said this, that friend said that, and there's some from, at least the one was like one of Caleb's best friends when they were little, that they haven't really had a connection in a number of years, but how he was so happy for me and everything. And it was so neat because all these kids, most of them are legal adults now, were saying, they're so happy for me, and way to go, Ma, because they always called me Mama D, because my last name was Derry, and I was just, I guess, another mom. And then he tells me, he's like, this isn't the first time I've done something like this. He's like, I've shared a couple of your posts. And it's like, that's so sweet. And then when he was getting ready to leave that evening, we were heading upstairs so my mom could pick him up on her way home from work. And he goes over to Noel, and he's like, thank you for everything. I love you, Pops. Gave him a hug and laughed. And then again yesterday when we were leaving the house, he said, I love you. And to most people, that would be nothing. That would be very insignificant, because they don't know the story behind it all. And so obviously Noel is not his biological father. I mean, he's only been in the picture for not quite 2 years now. And at the beginning of his and my relationship, it was a struggle for Caleb. And he doesn't remember his father so much because he was 11 months old the last time they saw each other in person, face to face. He's talked to him on the phone a few times, and well, a number of times in his life, and he's seen pictures, obviously, but he's not had a relationship, and the only person he's ever really felt was a father to him was my cousin Clint, uh, who we lost about 2.5 years ago in a motorcycle accident. And my grandpa, who was my dad growing up. And Caleb's not been real open to the concept of having, like, he's wanted a dad. He's always wanted a dad. But he hasn't willingly been able to allow himself to give that to somebody. And so for him to have started calling Noel Pops was a big thing. Him to hug him goodbye was a little bigger thing. But for him to be telling him he loves him, that's huge. When I told my grandpa the other day about that exchange between them, he was blown away. And it's just, I really just can't explain it. I can't describe it because it's like, I know it's something he's wanted his entire life. And I know they've not had a bad relationship. Like, you know, Caleb has never said anything bad about Noel. He can only say good things about him. And Noel has always tried to treat him as his own. They're very different kinds of people, and Caleb has a lot of anger and aggression, so he's not always been able to open up to receiving it. And they're so different that their interests are, you know, they don't have a lot of common ground. I'm their common ground. And but I know Noel's always wanted a child. Things didn't work out with him and his ex-wife to make that happen. And I can't give that to him due to medical issues, which has caused all sorts of issues for myself, because here, Caleb was planned. I was 19, but my husband, not quite husband at the time, wanted to have a child, and I'd always wanted to be a wife and a mom and have that white picket fence dog and 2 kids, you know, that perfect life. And so when he said, I want you to go off your birth control, I want us to have a baby, there was no hesitation. It just was like, all right, yeah, let's do this. And next month I'm pregnant. And he wanted it. He said he wanted it, and he wasn't able to appreciate it. I couldn't get him involved. And so here I give this most beautiful experience to somebody that said they wanted it, and he took it for granted and he tossed it to the side. And then I have this wonderful person that, man, I can't tell you what it does to me knowing I'm not able to give him that. I can't give him that, honey, I'm pregnant. I can't give him that, watch my belly grow, feel the baby kick, see this, the sonogram and hear the heartbeat. I can't give him that. I cannot give him that. And the one day I had a major meltdown about it, and I'm like, I am so sorry. I wish I could. I really, really want you to have that, because here I give it to somebody that couldn't appreciate it, and it's something you would love to have, and I know you'd appreciate it. and you'd be awesome at it, and I can't give it to you. And so he tells me, yeah, me and the ex, I wanted it and we tried and it didn't happen. But then you come into my life and you have Caleb, and I can't be his dad, but I can be a stepdad. So he's telling me that no, he can't have all those firsts. And he says, and I know he's 16 when I came into his life, but I can do this now, and I can have the rests. And it's just so beautiful because it's something they both wanted, and now they're putting it together. They're making it happen, and I get to sit back and watch these two men that mean so much to me finally get this relationship they wanted. And it's so I just feel so blessed to be able to see it and be a part of it and know that I actually have something to do with it.